Calling the meeting to order. Welcome to the August 19th, 2025 City Council meeting. Members of the public may attend this City Council meeting in person or may watch and listen remotely by viewing the meeting on Channel 8 WCTV and at the city's website at wayzata.org. Public comment during the public forum and/or public hearing portions of the meeting may be provided in person at the meeting in advance or by logging into the Teams call and raising your hand during the public hearing. When your name is called in the meeting, you will be seen and heard in our council chambers and the cable channel. You will be asked to unmute, turn on your camera, and then you may begin your comment. All public comments must include your full name and address. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next item is roll call, and let the record reflect that all are present with one excused absence of Mr. Alex Plekish. I need to also read a post-closed meeting statement. On Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, from 6 to 8 p.m., a closed meeting of the Wayzata City Council was held pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D05, Subdivision 3B, the attorney-client privilege exception to the open meeting law, to discuss the following litigation with the city. Lake West Development LLC, 200 Lake Street East LLC, and Kurt Fretham plaintiffs versus the City of Wayzata defendant, and Dre Trustee LLC versus the City of the Wayzata defendant. The meeting was closed to permit the City Council to meet with its attorneys to review and candidly and openly discuss absolutely confidential and privileged matters related to the above referenced litigation. Earlier this evening, beginning at 4:30, the Council participated in a workshop and discussed the following items. Discussion of the 2026 preliminary budget and levy number, and an update on the bar and grill enterprise planned remodel. Discussion of proposed amendments to Chapter 803 of the subdivision ordinance. Discussion of the council vacancy that we're facing here, effective tonight, and the appointment process thereof to appoint a new council member, and discussion of future council topics. Next is to approve the agenda for us tonight. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, or does anyone want to make any changes to the agenda?
I'll move to approve that agenda as outlined, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Next on the agenda is our public forum, and we only have one item on our public forum tonight, which is a public safety update by our Police Chief Jamie Baker. And just to give a heads up to Mr. Savis, if you want to make comments after you've heard that presentation, you're welcome to, and I would encourage you to come to the dais if you choose to. If you decline, that's fine as well. Okay, Chief Baker.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know which one of you are driving for me. Is it Community Development Director or Interim City Manager? Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to go over the brief outline that we have here for you tonight for our public safety update. We're going to do crime trends, traffic enforcement, and then discuss nuisance violations. Those are the three main topics. I would like to make it noted that for this year's data, it is only until August 6th, so we don't obviously have a full year's data because we haven't had a full year yet. So these are our total calls for service comparable for the last 3 years. We are sitting at about 6,100. Our projection is over 10,000 for the year. These are a graph of our assaults. As you can see, they have gone down in the last 3 years. And assaults are various. They include domestic assaults also, unfortunately. Next one is, burglary and property thefts. Those are also down, and they have continued to trend downward in the last 3 years also. On to traffic enforcement. Again, I want to remind you that these are only for through August 6th of 2025. So of traffic enforcement, our officers have had a total of 1,900 traffic violations. This includes citations, verbals, written warnings, and DWIs. A total of citations written are 1,800, or 1,089. So there's a difference between a traffic citation and a summons. That's a court thing. Citations are something you hand somebody and they can pay for it at the court level. A summons is they have to show up and appear for court. Citations increased by 66% since August of 2024. And we are 653 citations at the same date last year. There have been 25 DWI offenses this year as of to date, so we're trending right on target for that also. I would also like to say that the DWI offenses in the town are nothing to do related to the businesses or restaurants. That was one of the questions that somebody had asked. And the increased DWI arrests are sometimes subject to grant funding. So this is the enforcement impact that our CSOs have had. We had 3 part-time CSOs start in June of 2025, so we have a total of 4 currently. The CSOs have issued 22 citations in 2025. 55 of them are ordinance violations, so those include parking, beach parking, various things like that. The state statute portion on here are also basically those are expired registration. So I would like to point out that our CSOs are not able to do actual traffic enforcement and stop vehicles that are moving. These are only unoccupied vehicles within the city limits. The ordinance that it refers to on here with other ordinances with the 15%, those are CSOs taking calls for service for tall grass, fence issues, and other code enforcement issues. I just want to point that out. There is a portion where they may have stopped and assisted officers on traffic stops that they're on for towing vehicles so the officer can free up quicker. So on to nuisance violations within the city. What are we doing? Most of the nuisance violations that we have involve e-bikes and also exhibition and loud mufflers. What we were doing about excessive noise. So in May, the courts, at the direction of the city council, modified from paying a citation, which means you get a fine and you have to pay it, where you are then have to make a mandatory court appearance. So now anybody that has issued a citation within the city limits of Wayzata for loud muffler or an exhibition driving have a mandatory court appearance. They have to show up to court at a certain date. We are following those through the court system. We're currently 62.5% of those are still open pending a court appearance, so they haven't had even their first court appearance yet. Only 1 juvenile offender was cited in 2025, so I'd just like to point out that the offenders of this are adults, and we haven't had any repeat offenders so far this year. Yes, yet. The other thing I'd like to point out is we did count written and verbal warnings along with these. So the explanation I'd like to make is sometimes we stop a car for excessive noise and exhibition driving and it turns into a bigger crime. So for instance, a DWI. But those are, we are keeping tabs on how many people were stopping for those. The next topic is e-bikes. What are we doing about them and what has been done? So in May of this year, the council passed an emergency ordinance regarding helmets for juveniles and that they are mandated to wear them within the city limits. Prior to the ordinance, we only had 2 repeat offenders that we stopped and warned regarding their helmets, or not lack of helmets, actually. And so what we are finding now is that when we are stopping juveniles, it's not just 1 juvenile that we're coming in contact, it's multiple juveniles. So these numbers only count for 1 case number that are reported, but there could be 3 to 5 to 6, upwards of 6 juveniles that we're dealing with at a time. So keep that in mind when you're seeing these numbers, that sometimes they show one stop, but we actually are dealing with multiple juveniles and multiple sets of parents. So we had 23 parents that contacts that we had where we stopped and educated both the parents and the juveniles. Of those calls that we've had 10 calls that we were not able to locate anybody on. So citizens would call in, officers would respond to the location, and they weren't able to find somebody. That doesn't mean that they weren't found later by the officer, it just means at that time when the call came out, they weren't able to find them. And then we had 8%, which is only 3 calls for service, where the officer was tied up or on another traffic stop or some other type of call for service where they weren't able to respond. What are we doing about e-bikes? We passed the emergency ordinance like we had spoken about. We are having regional meetings with stakeholders. The stakeholders involved in this are too extensive to list on this PowerPoint, but I do want to point out that they include many city council members, ours included, law enforcement commissioners, public works directors, parks and trail boards, park and trails members, Three Rivers, and state legislatures, representatives also. It's an ongoing issue, and we are not the only ones that are having it. The Lakes Area Chiefs, which I belong to, have monthly meetings, and there are a couple of cases that we're following through the court system. One other agency has charged parents with contributing to delinquency of a minor, so we are currently monitoring and watching that. It hasn't made its way through the court system yet. We are personally calling parents and following up with them. If officers aren't able to get a hold of a parent that evening, they're usually following up with an aunt and uncle, and then later on we're having another conversation with the parents. Officers have made a flow chart for a quick reference guide due to the complexities of these state statutes, and it seems to be working pretty well. Local stakeholders are pushing for legislative change at the state level. This is not new. And by local, I mean our city council members in this area. Our SRO is going to be new this year to the middle school, and he is our bike safety officer, our bike patrol officer, and so he's creating educational and outreach programs in the city in the school that he can go into classrooms and educate kids on the safety and our ordinance. And then I joined a National Highway Transportation Safety Association study group on these. So like I said, it's not just a local issue, it is a national-wide issue. So the results of that should be coming out probably next year is what they promised us. Next slide. Before I get into questions, which I'm willing to stand for questions, I would like to give an update on Loki, our canine that was recently retired with Jason Gurman. Sergeant Gurman. I talked to Sergeant Gurman 2 days ago, and he was excited to inform me that he had his 10th search and rescue find. He was asked to go down to Wabasha County on the ravines and located a gentleman that had been missing from his home for 5 days at the bottom of the ravine. So,
Thank you, Chief Baker. Before I turn it over to questions, I just want to offer a couple comments. One, first of all, I mean, when you look at what's most important to our community about keeping us safe, you know, those serious crimes are down, and that's due to your leadership, that's due to your staff. And for context, the police department has been resourced significantly higher in the last 5 years. More people on the street, resourcing the reserve officer program, which we have a bike cop now, it's a reserve officer, and our CSOs. And that's really helped, as you just outlined, address the nuisance issues. We just put on the books these new laws in May, so we really haven't seen the full effect of these new laws, as you've already noted. And just to amplify what you've said about e-bikes, staff is working with staff and political is working with political. We actually had a bill introduced at the Capitol this year that got buzzsawed by the lobbyists pretty quickly, but we intend to work with Senator Johnson and Representative Acom to put a new bill on the floor again this year to designate e-bikes like what they are. They're like motorcycles, and they shouldn't be on our sidewalks and everything else. So hopefully our legislature will see the light and make that change. And second, we've had a partnership politically also with the school district. You know, this education program, I don't think parents really understand the risk they're taking on by buying these devices. They think their homeowner's policy covers it. It doesn't. If you don't register it as like a car, you have liability when you crash. You know, they don't understand the safety, and they don't understand the liability. And so we're gonna do some education to our constituents, to the kids, and to their parents in Wayzata, for at least Wayzata residents. If you're buying these devices, I am quite confident that parents have no idea the liability that they're taking on for their kid and for someone that their kid may hit or harm. So that's going to help. And then lastly, we are working with Three Rivers too, because the trail comes through town. So we're trying to hit this a number of different angles, and thank you for your leadership on this. Thank you for tamping down nuisance. Thank you for tamping down more serious crimes. I think you're doing an excellent job, only 3 months into your full-time chief job. So great start, and I commend you for it.
Thank you. I would just like to piggyback on what the mayor said. The Three Rivers has been an integral part of this. They are part of the Lakes Area Chiefs meeting, and Josh does show up at 2 meetings, and the commissioners are always available for us to ask questions too.
Excellent. So I would open it up to questions from council of Chief Baker about the data presented. Please, Ms. McDonald.
Chief, thank you again, just to reiterate what the mayor said, but one quick question for clarification.
Sure.
The CSOs are not allowed to stop moving blank.
Moving vehicles, they're not
Moving-
allowed to do traffic stops. They're not fully sworn, they're not armed.
Right.
They don't have the legal authority to do that.
But in this scenario, do the e-bikes and the e-scooters count as moving vehicles, or are the CSOs allowed to stop the e-bikes and the scooters?
Because this is an ordinance and they're juveniles, they would be allowed to stop. They're not considered a motor vehicle in that sense.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you to say. And then I couldn't tell from your slide, but what is the total violations in 2025? I feel like I only saw percentages. Maybe that was,
Of moving violations, or which portion are you?
Maybe go back to that slide if you would.
Yeah.
the too far.
We're both trying to control, sorry.
Oh,
That's okay.
a little forward.
Okay, thank you.
It was a pie graph, not this one. Next, sorry. It must have been.
The
this
nuisance?
one. Yeah, this one.
The nuisance one, okay. Let me get you the numbers. I have them written down.
I've noticed.
Yep, so this is a total of 38. So this is where I was talking about how, so there's 38 total. And so there's 14 were citations, 8 were written, and 16 were verbal. But some of these count towards, they could be a higher level of crime, or it could be that they were a higher level of crime and then these were added on.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
That makes sense. It does. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Other questions of Chief Baker? I would invite John Savis to come to the podium if you wish. Please. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Okay, thank you.
John Sabas, 663 Bushel Way. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Nice to see you again. Good to be here. And Chief Baker, thanks for the report. I was here at the last meeting with my wife talking about public safety along Bushel Way and enforcement relative to speed and noise. I was happy to be here last meeting and learn about the steps the council has taken with the upgraded ordinance. We were interested to hear the safety report tonight, which I think was informative and helpful. I think the one thing that may add some value would be geographically. You know, where are these violations being enforced? I think all of us in the Wayzata community would want to know, make sure that, you know, deterrence is spread around, because it is deterrence that's really going to keep things in check. Yeah, I'm just super happy to see the upgraded ordinance. I think to know that you all are taking that seriously and taking steps to tap that down is a big deal. I would just say, you know, we were at dinner at Gianni's on a Wednesday night a week ago. It was crazy, the amount of noise on the cars. And so I guess just going back to enforcement and the actual numbers, I think the numbers are important. I think we should look at those closely, and we should be tracking where that enforcement is taking place. I don't think it's a big ask to have someone one night a week sitting with a decibel meter down at that stop sign and pulling people over. It sounds like we're getting some other offenders, some bad actors in the course of doing that, which is great. So just want to thank you again for the steps, the data, and keep it up. Thanks.
I do have one update on your request from that last council meeting. Both Chief Baker and I have been in contact with Commissioner Edelson and then the staff of the county, and they have committed to put a speed monitor device, I don't know what the right terminology is, Chief Baker, on 101 North, as well as some school zone enforcement, and we formally made the request to add another one on 101 South Bushaway. The answer we got back was, it's on the list, don't know if we can get to it quickly, but we will add it. So at least that was the political answer. I don't know if we got a concrete staff answer, but your commissioner committed to doing that. So that'll help a little bit for one of your requests, but all the other feedback is well taken.
Thank you. Appreciate the follow-up and great work. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief Baker. I guess there's no other questions. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Chief Baker?
I do not. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Could I mention,
Sure.
Peggy, Mr. Stavis's comment made me think of something that I've been considering as I am at my home. I have noticed the presence on the piano-way, which was asked for and is needed. And I think maybe this is what Mr. Stavis was saying too, is that can't be, I know it's not the only place we're enforcing, but when it comes to exhibition driving and the speeding, I think they show off on Lake Street and then zoom out of town on Wayzata Boulevard, and I would deign to guess Bushaway Road as well. And so it's not imperative to get right now, but it would be interesting to see where some of those violations are taking place more specifically than just, because I think we all kind of just think of Lake Street, but I would assume there's a lot of violations outside of.
Correct. So sometimes what happens is a violation will happen on Lake Street and the officer can't catch up to him till another area, or it's not a convenient place to have somebody stop. I would say Lake Street probably isn't a convenient place to have somebody stop due to the flow of traffic. It impedes it quite a bit. So depending on how the officer puts in the information into our system, it can say that the stop was at Lake Street and such, or that they stopped them somewhere else. So
I've just noticed when it starts to get a little dark and maybe there's fewer people to impress with your loud car or whatever the motivations are, I think they would be easier to nab, per se, up on Wayzata Boulevard or when they're scooting out of town. So just a little suggestion.
thank you.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, do you have anyone on Teams that wanted to comment on this topic?
We do not.
Okay. Let's move on to new agenda items. Does anyone on council have a new agenda item that they'd like to bring up at a future meeting? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda, and on our consent agenda tonight is approval of city council workshop and regular meeting minutes of August 6, 2025, approval of the check register, approval of municipal licenses, receipt of the police activity report, receipt of the building activity report, approval of change orders for fire protection system for Klapprich Park warming house, adoption of Resolution 30, 2025, authorizing participation in the MCES grant program for the mitigation of inflow and infiltration in the public sanitary sewer system. Say that 3 times in a row. Approval of tree planting proposal by Legacy Trees, the acceptance, or maybe we'll deny this, I don't know, Jeff, acceptance of the resignation from council member Jeff Parkhill, approval of proposal from MetLife for paid family and medical leave, adoption of Resolution 29, 2025, extending the PUD general plan, PUD CUP, for Moments of Wayzata at 163 Wayzata Boulevard West. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, or do we need to amend or pull any items? Mr. Parkhill.
I would request that we move 7F to the discussion and new business on item number A.
Okay.
Considering approval of change order for additional landscaping and retaining wall at Klapprich Park. I think we should discuss all of Klapprich Park
Okay.
at the same time and potentially after some presentations.
Noted. Mr. Sorensen?
Yeah, and I would like to pull item K for a comment and suggestion.
Okay. So I would accept a motion to pull items F, which is the fire protection item, and item K, which is the resolution 25 extending the PUD general plan. I would accept a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing, we have no new items. Maybe let's just address, if you're okay with it. Go ahead.
Would you like to act on the rest of the consent agenda before moving on to the?
Oh, thank you. Yes, we do have to approve it now that we've amended it. So now I would accept a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. I have a process question for city manager. Just trying to knock down item K. Are we okay if we take that first so that we can just get it off the list and then move on to the regular item and join item F to item 9A? Would that be acceptable?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Sorensen, you had questions on item K from the consent agenda.
Yeah, item K, just make sure I understand, but it looks like there's a past due balance to the city of a little over $16,000. And what I think I understand is that these are mainly due to the city for reviews we've done in the past associated with this development.
That's correct.
And they're about 10 months, they were due last October.
Councilmember, that is correct. However, doesn't reflect some of the full scope of this, as they have had several projects that have been brought forward, so they've actually been past due in some nature for some form of their projects since around 2023. They've come up to date with past projects and then simultaneously moved into past due on current projects. Does that help clarify?
I'm not sure I got that, but I think the point is, these are maybe 10 months old or more?
Correct.
Okay. And regardless of this project receives financing or not, or moves ahead or not, these monies are due.
That is also correct.
I'm just want to make sure I'm not missing something. So they're asking for us to have a resolution extending the permit, but they haven't paid $16,000 for 10 months. And unless there's more to the story, I mean, my suggestion would be that we give them conditional approval upon receipt of this back payment.
So the one aspect of this is that their approval does expire upon the 1-year extension, or upon their 1 year of approval, so that would be early September. Staff has strongly encouraged them to pay their past due bills prior to that date. In fact, staff tried to reach out to them on several occasions. Noted in the memo, we've sent certified mail on several occasions to try to discuss this and encourage that prior to the council meeting so that we could bring forward they are working on a payment plan, they are working on options, they are able to present something. You have all the materials that they have responded with. And so at this time, contingent extension, I would defer to whether that would be possible from the city attorney, because their extension or their approvals expire September 3rd
Before we get
or
there,
5th.
I just want to note the packet does have a letter from the applicant stating that their preference would be, and I'm not saying that we need to agree to it,
Yeah.
but their preference is to have this roll to when their financing is approved, and that they would pay it at that time. So that's their request.
Yeah.
Doesn't acknowledge why they haven't paid it, but that is their request.
Yeah, and it's not the dollar amount so much, it's just the principle of the thing. I mean, this development's been going on for quite a while. They've incurred significant expenses. And I'm puzzled as to why they think they don't need to pay the city $16,000 for the last 10 months. So my suggestion to council would be that we, instead of approving this as a consent issue, that we approve it conditional that we make a conditional approval upon receipt of the back payment.
Okay. How do others feel about that? Others weigh in on how they feel about that revised proposal.
I would be happy to weigh in if
Go
I
ahead.
may. I too was going to ask to pull this item from the consent agenda, and I will not vote to support this extension without good standing financially with the city. Full stop.
Okay.
I also would implore this council to consider doing, if there was an extension, of course, and that contingency, that perhaps they only get to October 31st of this year, since that's the time they need, or they are expressing in this letter, but I won't vote for a 12-month extension.
Okay, so you're adding one additional contingent for consideration. Mr. Parker, do you have any comments?
No, I agree with Molly and our council member, Molly McDonald.
Yep. Okay, I personally don't have an issue. We just extended this, a similar situation to another development applicant that had the same request for financing. I do note that someone from the Moments is here. They don't have to come to answer, but if they're invited to comment if they wish to, they can politely decline as well. But there is a representative here from the Moments that could perhaps address these questions. Welcome, Ms. Wright. Hold on, I gotta get your mic on, sorry. Green means go.
There you go.
And if you could just state your full name and who you represent.
Elizabeth Wright. I represent the TMSC of Wayzata, the Moments of Wayzata. I am here apologetically. We have been working on trying to get financing in place and have spent over $7.5 million on this project to date. We're requesting a continuation, or not a continuation, but an extension of the request for 12 months. I will pledge that we will be paid in full by the end of October, but I'm looking for another 12 months. I do not currently have financing in place, and I don't know many banks that will get me financing in place in about a month, which is kind of what you're asking, to only extend to the end of October. So I would respectfully ask that we have that extension for another 12 months. And we will get it brought current, hopefully before the end of October.
Just to clarify, on the bill, you mean 1 year from October or this?
No, this October.
Okay, so just want to make sure I clarify so I get it on the record properly. You're asking for a 1-year extension, but you're pledging that you will address the receivable by October of this year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, thank you for that clarification. So now we have one member that wants it addressed, one member that wants the date changed. So I think we just have to go through a discernment process to see where we land here.
Can I ask
Please.
a clarifying question
Please.
of staff? The applicant just said I just would like you to remind the public and us when this was approved.
I'll let Director Sharp answer that question.
For this iteration, this was approved in, I believe, August of 2024.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see if we can take this in two parts. First, I'll address issue number one. Mr. Sorensen, based on the applicant's response of bringing the receivable current by October, does that address your concerns, or would you like to leave your position as now?
Well, I would like to leave it under condition that we approve it conditional upon receiving the payment.
Okay. Let's just go down the line. You've already weighed in that you would support that. You've weighed in that you would support that. That specific provision, not the totality of the thing, just that
Thank you.
specific provision. Okay, you've weighed in. I've said no, that's going to hold. Now we move to the change of date. Ms. McDonald has asked that we cut it from a year to 3 months.
Right, because this letter, this is where, I didn't just pick that out of a hat. It says they intend, oh, no, back where you were. Well, I guess this is background, or maybe you, I think it says both, in both places, but states that initial financing is secured, something about breaking ground in October. So maybe it is the next page, sorry.
That's in the letter. Yeah.
Sorry, Director. You're reading my mind already. So I would assume if you're break ground in October of this year, that would mean your financing is in place. So I don't see why you need 12 more months.
Yeah,
after
okay,
you've had-
so the request is for 12 months. Do you want to alter 12 months, or would you want to make it shorter?
Yeah, I understand that it's a tough time for financing. You know, if we make it shorter, I'd say end of the year, maybe, but I'm generally okay with the year.
Okay, we know what your position is, your position.
I have one question for staff. Are we getting interest on this, and do we have the ability to lien the property with these fees?
If you want to start.
So I had a similar question. No, we are not gaining interest with these. I don't know that I can answer the additional fees because I'm not sure what additional fees you're referring to at this time. The
Fees in
past due-
question.
Oh, the past due. Do we have the ability to assess them against the property? Is the question.
Yeah.
Great question. An item for future discussion. We've typically not done that in the past, speaking with Pete. We were trying to look into other ways of being able to collect this. Traditionally, we have sent out the letters, worked with the applicant, and largely received payment. And so we haven't had to move to adding them to assessment rolls or determining whether that is possible from the development process.
Does that answer your question?
So it's possible that we could do it, but you try other methods first? Is that what I'm hearing?
We haven't asked the question to determine what the legal process for adding it to an assessment roll would be for a development application. So I don't want to commit 100% to something that we haven't been able to fully research because we haven't hit an impasse where we haven't been able to collect them through the standard practice.
Legal counsel? Do you know?
Mayor and council member, I agree with Director Sharp. We've never had to do that. We have a number of legal tools that we could use if we have to start a collection action. That's kind of a policy level decision on how we would want to handle that. But we could certainly bring everything that we would have the legal authority to do.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so back to my question at hand. Duration of the extension, how do you see it?
Well, I understand the difficulty for financing right now, too. I don't mind extending it a year, but I would like to see the payment in the next 3 months.
Yep, okay, so I'm at a year. So now I would accept a motion, I think coming from Councilmember Sorensen, to extend this 1 year, but to put a condition on there associated with payment of the arrears amount. I would accept a motion of that, to that end. Mr. Counsel, you have,
Mayor, just to maybe help with that particular motion, I think if that is something that a member would want to make, I think it would be adoption of resolution number 29, 2025, with a condition that the city receives payment that is due no later than December 31st of this year.
is that acceptable to you? Is that the
Did
motion?
you say
December?
December?
December 31st of this year, is that what you had?
That's what you said.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you said, but I think he wanted an
Yeah,
earlier date.
I would say the end of October this
Oh,
year.
I'm sorry, I misheard you then. Okay, so then, yeah, just whatever date it would be. So that would be the nature of the motion to approve.
Yeah.
Subject to receiving payment by whatever date you would.
All right, so I would accept a motion articulated in the fashion that our council outlined for adoption of resolution 2925 with that condition.
I would make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
And Mayor, just for the record, that condition would be receiving payment by the end of October
Right.
of this year.
No further discussion, just clarification. I'm going to vote against this, not because of the demand and pressure to get them into good financial standing with the city, but because of the 12 months.
Understood. So I had motion, second, and further discussion. Let's just, I'm starting to get cloudy. Let's just do a roll call vote. Do you approve this or not? Roll call vote, please, Mr. City Manager.
Councilmember Parkhill.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald.
Nay.
Councilmember Sorensen.
Aye.
Mayor Mullen.
Aye, that passes. So the applicant will bring the account current by October, and they will be granted a one-year extension on the application. Moving on to the next item is new business. Consider approval of change order for additional landscaping and retaining wall at Klapprich Park. I know there's a number of people that want to speak on this topic, so just for education, the way this works is the staff presents, we get a chance to ask questions, the public are given an opportunity to comment, then we bring it back for a discernment process and a decision, just so you kind of know the order of operations, because I know we have little kids here and everything else. We'll go through it as efficiently as we can, but that's kind of the order of operations, just so we all know.
I can kick things off, Mr. Mayor. You moved one item from the consent agenda also to be included in this item. I'd like to understand if you'd like us to go through the presentation for this particular change order, receive public comment,
No, I'd actually like.
ask any questions you might have on the,
No, I think bring it together as one. So you've got two change orders, put all the information for the two change orders on the table, let the council ask questions on those two change orders, let the public comment on those two change orders, and then we move forward.
sure. Our presentation that we have put together is based on our, the item under new business. I will bring up the, at least mention the topic. I don't have a presentation prepared for our consent agenda item. That item is to consider two change orders for the addition of a fire suppression system at the warming house. It was determined after bidding that fire suppression would be necessary as part of the warming house building per state building code. Somewhere along the line, our consultant had, in their assumptions in preparing our plans, my understanding is that they were reviewing a previous version of code where fire suppression was not required. So what we're bringing forward to you this evening, two change orders. One is from our site contractor to extend the water line or extend a water line from the street to the building. The second change order is to make the connection to that outside line, bring it in, and provide an interior fire suppression system for the newly renovated warming house. The overall total for that is approximately $150,000, $140,000. Overall, our contingency, and Nick will go into this again as part of his presentation on the landscaping. As part of the overall project, we had budgeted $1,970,000 approximately, of which $170,000 was contingency. This change order request falls within the change order or contingency amount. Nick will talk a little bit about the additional change order, which brings that total to just under the overall contingency amount of $170,000. We wanted to make you aware of that we are using the majority of that contingency for these two items. I think I'll stop and I'll stand for any questions that you might have related to the fire suppression system.
That's a good plan. Questions of staff on change order one related to fire suppression. Mr. Sorensen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I asked to pull this because it seems extremely unusual that we would get to the point of where we're 20% into construction or wherever we are, and then a change order surfaces of this magnitude. And this is a change order that I think we primarily, correct me if I'm wrong, we rely on our consultants, either architects or architects consultants that deal with mechanical systems, fire suppression systems. And that's why we hire them, to understand these codes. So I think we have no choice but to approve this. I just bring it up because it's irritating and a great amount of displeasure that we're in a position now where we started a $2 million project with most of our contingency gone. It's just not a good way to start a project. And we're here, I think, largely because of the situation we just talked about. So, you know, I guess my ask would be that that displeasure gets forwarded on to the right people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Parkhill.
Yeah, okay, so let's assume that the architects did this. When was the code changed related to the fire code? When was the new code adopted?
Mike?
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, Councilmember Parkhill. So in speaking with our building official, a little bit, maybe more clarity to this too. It was approved in 2005 by ordinance. So this specific building code section is a voluntarily approved ordinance by a city. And so not every city has this specific requirement. And we approved it in 2005 is when it became part of our building code.
Makes it worse.
That makes it really bad. Do they have, do these architects have, I mean, errors and emissions insurance? And maybe that can cover some of this with that, because this is, we made a decision based on the information they gave us, and they should know better. 20 years this code's been in place, and it's like $150,000. And maybe we would have designed it differently, or they should have designed it differently, under 2,000 square feet versus 2,300 square feet. Maybe we could have pulled the bathrooms outside in a separate building. You know, it's like, that might have been worth it instead of spending this $150,000. And I might add that $150,000 for this is rather rich, where it's a very small area to put, you know, fire suppression in. And I understand 40 or 50 of that is the 4-inch line getting to the thing, but that's still a lot for a 4-inch line. And so I'm really disappointed. I approved this project and the budget for this project because it had come down, and it had been significantly less than the original amount. And so I'm kind of at a loss to exactly how to handle this, and all of our contingency is basically being completely annihilated, especially if we go ahead with the retaining walls and the trees. So I don't know, it leaves us really in a bad spot, and I really think we should send a letter asking something about their errors and emissions.
Yeah.
Send them a, you know, I mean, I don't want to air the architect out here, but
You just did, but that's okay.
I don't know who it was. I don't know who the architect was, but are they here that they could defend themselves?
So I'm going to make a suggestion, and I appreciate where you're coming from, and I actually agree with you 100%, and you as well. This isn't the first time this has happened. The magnitude of this on Panaway was profound. So we got to get our house in order, and what I would recommend is a way to try to take action on this. If staff would work with the city attorney to review the contract and the terms and conditions of the contract pertaining to the change order and a mistake, right? This is an error or a mistake, and evaluate our chances of pushing that clause and triggering an insurance payment for their mistake. So just explore it. I'm not saying, you can't magically make that happen, but you certainly can explore the terms and conditions. You can make the inquiry. You can press them and hold people accountable for decisions. I know when I was in consulting, if I made a mistake like that, one of my clients would be on me in 15 seconds.
Exactly. It's not okay.
So,
Just a quick note, just because it's irritating, right? What you pay for something like this via change order is likely quite a bit different than if it were done on initial bid. So there's a delta there that the city is paying a premium for because of this. I think that's part of the discussion with our architects.
Come off their fees.
Mr. City Attorney, is that a reasonable request?
Mr. Mayor, it's certainly reasonable for us to look into it, get more facts from the folks we hired to advise us in this area and to execute.
Press errors and omissions.
Right, and look at the contract, and I'll visit with staff more of the details too.
Okay. Is that, I know it doesn't resolve it, but at least a course of action to address your concerns?
And that is the consensus of council on that one? Yeah.
I agree. I think
I have no issues with it. All right. Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify one point to Councilmember Parkhill's comment about the budget. We did come in under. We had originally allocated about $2.4 million for this project overall. The project that you approved in May included construction costs as well as that contingency at around 1.97. So we still are significantly under budget. I think we should all be proud of that. We do understand that this error is significant to the contingency that you budgeted, and we'll look into it.
Yeah, I'm just, as a rebuttal to that, I'm worried that we're going to have another contingency. And I'm worried that this isn't the first time this has happened. It went all through Panaway. And there was constant stuff. And I'm just like, who's looking out for us? It really irritates me that I just feel like the citizens end up paying for this with their taxes. And it's like, it's up to us to sort of, pick contractors and consultants that have our best interests in their pocket. And it's like, sometimes I don't feel that.
Yeah, not to pick at the scab, but I'm going to, because this is a hot button issue for me as well. It's going to be unacceptable for me in the future to hire construction managers that did a worse job than that. So when you look at Pana, we had a construction manager fee, we had change orders, we had budget overages, we didn't have bids. So we got to get our house in order to small and large projects, not to jam it on the taxpayer. And I appreciate what you're concerned about the budget. It's all out of a budget that the taxpayer pays for, period, full stop, end of story. Okay, enough on that. And we're go ahead.
That is some nice color, though, that interim city manager highlighted, and I appreciated the full picture. And that isn't to diminish this important conversation, but that other point was also important.
And I think you get the message is who we're hiring and then holding them accountable. So, okay, moving on.
Okay, just one quick. I think part of this is, Mike, a discussion about our procurement processes. Because there are options out there now, how you go about a project and how you hire designers, engineers, consultants, design, build, et cetera. So there's a lot to that discussion, but it's a good thing. It kind of wraps this discussion up a bit, that we go back and talk about all of that, I think.
That's fair. I mean, I think that is the moving from the pews to the pulpit, right? Is the core process change that we need to figure out to get our arms around this in future projects. So, I think you get it, and hopefully you're not personalizing the feedback. It's the problem.
We understand fully.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next change order, and we'll walk through that.
So
Just-
will we vote on this one, or will we vote on them together?
I think we'll vote on them together, right? So we're going to bring it back as a package after we get feedback from the public, and after we have two change orders in front of us. We have to approve both change orders to proceed. So go ahead.
Understood, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this item, related to the additional landscaping and retaining wall, council directed us at our workshop 2 weeks ago to bring forward option 2, which was additional landscaping to the north side of the hill as well as the hill. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to environmental planner Keyser.
That's close.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manager Kelly, Mr. Mayor and Council. So again, this is just, the presentation will be going over the proposed change order for additional landscaping and retaining wall work at Klapprich Park. So start briefly here again. I know we've had some background at the last council workshop as well, but just a little bit less detailed background here. The Parks and Trails Board has worked on the Klapprich Park project starting in 2021. In May of 2025, council awarded contracts to start construction for the project. In June, so shortly after construction started, staff started to receive significant concerns from the neighbors north of the park regarding the construction of the project and specific aspects of the project. To hear those concerns a little bit more, a neighborhood meeting was held on July 2nd. That neighborhood meeting also included some council members, Parks and Trails Board members, and city staff. Some of the concerns that were heard at that neighborhood meeting, the first two are probably the most significant ones here. The first being the tree removal on the northwestern hillside of Klapprich Park, and the amount of trees that were removed and the impacts of that. The addition of the hillside slide and stairs on that hillside and the connection of that stairway to Park Street. The parking and traffic concerns, again, going with the new amenities there, having some concerns over parking to access those amenities and traffic concerns going along with that parking. Communication, kind of frustration of lack of communication of the overall project and the specific items that we noted above. the overall budget cost of the project, which we also just talked about, and also school parking, mainly during drop-off pickup times with folks parking on Park Street. So at the August 6th council workshop, City Council reviewed these neighborhood concerns, reviewed the proposed solutions, the Parks and Trails Board recommendation, and the public comments at that workshop. As Manager Kelly noted, council directed staff to bring forward option 2 of those proposed solutions. Option 2 was to keep the hillside slide and stairs as approved, but add a significant amount of landscaping to the hillside and top of the hill. With that option, council also noted to add as much landscaping as possible to the top of the hillside and to ensure that landscaping is well maintained. So with these notes, we'll go over the proposed landscaping plan here in a second, but we added one additional spaded tree that you'll see. We're also looking at adding water access to the top of the hill to help with the maintenance of those, with that landscaping and possibly some equipment maintenance as well. So we added this slide in here just for context of what we are talking about. So this is the best representation that we received from our playground vendor of what that proposed slide would look like. So it's 40 feet in length. If you look at the bottom right image, it's a little bit less than 40 feet. That 40 feet includes that entrance, that bamboo slate entrance that's noted there as well. 18 feet in vertical height, it's dark green color, and the slide was ordered alongside all the other playground equipment in May of 2025. So with this landscaping plan, again, it's similar to what was in the council workshop, but with some slight changes here. The 4 spaded trees to the north of the proposed stairway or proposed slide location also have a retaining wall around that location. Mainly, we just need more of a flat surface to plant those spaded trees. Those spaded trees would be 16 to 20 feet tall. We'd also add 5 arborvitae trees to the northeast of that slide location and east of the stairway. Those would be about 5 to 6 feet tall. We'd also be looking at adding 10 1.5-inch deciduous trees along the hillside, along with 16 additional saplings there as well. The proposed retaining wall would essentially match the existing new retaining wall that was put in there with the project right now. So getting into cost, the main cost is the retaining wall. That's just a little under $20,000. The deciduous trees on the hillside, $4,700. The 4 spaded trees, just over $10,000. The 5 arborvitae trees. With the approved landscaping plan, we're essentially just taking 5 trees out of that plan that we were proposing to plant in the beginning. So that's just a net wash with the 5 arborvitae trees that we're planning with this proposed landscaping plan. The total would be at $34,730. Spaded trees, just as a couple notes here, spaded trees would go through a separate contract. It's more of a unique item. We have existing relationship with the tree farms to reduce the cost for those spaded trees. And the additional saplings we already have at our city's gravel bed nursery as well. So no additional cost for those. The Parks and Trails Board recommendation. So the board attended that July 2nd meeting. The board discussed that feedback and the potential options at the July 8th meeting. At that meeting, the Parks and Trails Board voted to recommend option 2 for the hillside stairs and slide, and also recommended to essentially monitor the parking and traffic on Park Street after construction, determine if indeed there are any actions that are needed. In the council workshop agenda packet, there was also additional information from the board as well on the recommendation, reasoning, and timeline. So lastly here, public comments. So again, we had the neighborhood meeting and the workshop in this meeting to respond to those concerns that we've heard at that July 2nd neighborhood meeting. Before this packet was published, staff received 26 public comments. Generally speaking, 17 of those comments were against the hillside stairs and slide. 9 of those comments were in general support of the approved plans. We received 4 additional public comments after the packet was published. So they're printed out up front too if folks want to read those. In general, 3 of those were in support of the project as approved, with one comment noting potential revision to not connect the stairway to Park Street. And just for more clarity, the council workshop had a total of 32 public comments, and this item was discussed as well. Three of those comments were in opposition to the hillside stairs and slide, and 29 of those comments were in general support of the project. So with that, I'll bring it back to Mr. Mayor and council for any questions.
Okay, questions of staff? Okay.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Parkhill.
So am I right to assume that you,
Oh, your mic's off.
am I right to assume that the retaining wall is only there to put the spaded trees in for the additional blockage?
Correct, Councilmember Parko, yes.
Okay, and spaded trees are about $2,500 each worth versus the 1.5-inch deciduous trees are maybe, what's that, 500 each.
Correct.
So it's an $8,000 increase. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, before we take public comment, I'm just going to read something. Topics often generate passionate responses that come before us, and we're really fortunate to have an engaged community and welcome your input on these complex issues. As we discuss them, I ask for respectful civil discourse. Embracing competing perspectives makes our community stronger, and if done right, actually allows civic friendships to thrive. And with that, I'm going to open the public comments on this project. Tori Schalke and Fred Guyan, I think this is actually the spirit of what I just said, because I know one of you's for it and one of you's against it, so let's have it.
With that context in mind, I'm Tori, 290 Ridgeview. I'm one of the insensitive, overreaching board members who I think Fred may have thought must hate mature, beautiful trees, and I'm joined by Fred of Park Street, one of the NIMBY, crotchety neighbors, being facetious, sorry, who I think I may have initially assumed may hate the sound of children's laughter. But we, I think, despite
Keep it civil, Tori.
Sorry. I think despite those initial differences and assumptions, tried to stake out kind of a compromise option that could avoid a contentious vote, which I'll get to in a minute. For context, Fred was kind enough to invite me to walk Klapprich again last Friday. I had convinced board member Sarah Randolph to join, both to listen to some of the neighbor concerns and also to act as a witness in case Fred tried to kidnap me. Which, thank you, Fred. And so the two of us walked the site with three neighbors. I think it was yourself, Harold, and Bob. But the conversation was kind of left stuck. Fred was kind enough to pick up the phone yesterday, so this is hot off the press. And we were talking about it feels like council is kind of forced into a contentious vote. Is there not some middle ground? Since both of the parties' desires don't appear to be mutually exclusive. So the neighbors are saying they don't want to see the slide or have people park in front of their house. Parks board and trying to do what's best for the residents is very fine with that. The board wants to let residents utilize the steep hill in an engaging, unique way. The neighbors, not inherently anti-slide, fine with that. So we had kind of mocked up a middle ground option. Fred was floated it past the neighbors, and it sounds like of the 7 kind of vocal houses that had opposed it, they would be in support. I floated it past the board members, or about 4 of the 7 members said they could support it. So what we're specifically requesting is if council could table this second change order and ask staff, for about 2 weeks, and ask staff to draft 3 additional changes. The first is removing the sidewalk from the top portion, from the entrance of the slide to the sidewalk, replacing some of that with additional tree coverage. Part of the hope would be some of the cost of hardscape potentially pay for the trees. And then third, we wouldn't install, or maybe perhaps if we need to delay installation of the topper on that roof, because some of the height may make it visible to the neighbors. I'll note it's not perfect. It keeps a slide, which Fred has qualms about since it's ADA compliant, but not ADA accessible. It delays things further, which I don't like. I wasn't planning on speaking. I was just excited for this to move on, but this actually further delays it. The third thing I'll note is it removes a convenient pathway for neighbors beyond Park Street, which is why the 3 board members had said they oppose it. So they think Gardner, et cetera, residents would like to access Klapprich from Park Street, and now they're forced to create a dirt cow path, which is both inconvenient for them and not a great visual. So at the same time, it could serve as a middle ground, kind of tone down the conversation and prevent a potential all or nothing decision if that's in the interest of council. So our intent wasn't to complicate things last minute, though this may. Our intent was really just to see if we could go along to get along and bridge 2 groups and scrap together kind of a Hail Mary middle ground. So thanks for considering our request, and I'll turn it over to Fred.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tori. Fred Guyan, 359 Park Street East. And yes, it's true that all of us are in agreement, the neighbors, to say this would be possibly a great plan. If we could get this delayed for 2 weeks and work it out, work the kinks out, I think we could present you something that wouldn't have a lot of problems to it.
Okay. I think we'll continue to take public input, but we will note that as a recommendation for us to consider. Next up, I have Lydia Thank you. Thank you. Yes, welcome.
Hi, I'm Lydia Malm. I put Violet Malm on, but she had to go, so did Duke, because it was bedtime. So I brought 2 of the slide users to try to kind of influence you guys, but they had to.
Well, I had ice cream with them at the Muni, so I heard them out.
You did. I am 343 Ridgeview Drive. I am one of the kind of mama mafia who we pretty much run that street, and we have been promised, we were promised that that park was going to be starting to be remodeled when I was pregnant with Violet. So here we are, we're sitting, we're waiting. We love that park. It's so much closer to where we can go. We can walk a pedestrian crosswalk, and we can be there, and we don't have to walk get in a car, go all the way down to the beach. And a lot of times the beach is overcrowded, et cetera. So we just are here to voice our support. So I pretty much represent Ridgeview and Margaret Circle in terms of we really want the park to be built, but we don't want it to be built at the expense of other people who live there and also have to hear the screams of joy by the children, but also to make sure that it's fair for everyone. But it sounds like Tori was able to come up with hopefully something that we can all agree on, because I think we all agree we're all part of the community. We all pay taxes. We all want to see happy kids smiling, and we all want to be, happy neighbors.
Thank you. Next, Bob Fisher. Welcome.
Thank you, and appreciate your time. So we thank you for the opportunity to share our perspectives. And I'm Bob Fisher, and my wife Kim and I moved to Wayzata about a year ago from Tonka Bay, and we love the city. We love, the activities that are available, and Klapprich Park was a big plus for us when we bought the house. We're the little house on the hill, just directly opposite where the slide will be, and we're huge fans of Wayzata, so we really like the city. We're a little shocked to see when the pine trees came down. We weren't aware that was going to happen, and it happened all in a day. And what it did for our house, which sits on the hill looking south towards the park and Wayzata Boulevard, it opened up, just a vast window of light and activity that hadn't been there when the pine trees were there. So we were a little shocked when that happened. Let me just see where I'm at. Well, we're grateful that the city is considering, sort of a robust coverage for some of the light pollution, the way we look at it, coming off of Wayzata Boulevard, and as people pull into the park, the headlights are coming straight up the hill towards our house. So I think we can live with the proposal of dropping, the slide down a little bit and not having it, and with the trees that are not having it be right up at the street level. We're a little worried about traffic. We get a lot of cars that come through and turn around and come into, partway into our driveway. So that's a very common thing, and it probably happens to a number of our neighbors as well. I could see an increase in that depending on the usage of the slide and how, where that's positioned. So. we'd be happy to have any of you come over and look from our house if you want to take a peek at what it, what it looks like and how it gets impacted at different times of the day. So with that offer, we just ask for, some of the changes that you've noted, and I think other neighbors can speak to it as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Jenny Sargent, please. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jenny Sargent. I live at 215 Chicago Avenue North. I have 4 kids, ages 2.5 to 17. I've lived here for about 8 years. Klapprich Park, though the area itself is loved, I would say the playground itself is not well utilized. There's lots of ground bees that were in the sand. It was not a spot that families felt safe taking their little kids. It was not kept up well. It was not easy to access. This has been a plan that has been being developed for many, many years. They spoke to the date of when it first started, and I do appreciate the complaints of the people that live right above it, saying that those trees were taken down. Being at the last meeting, there were 3 options presented. It was my understanding that you guys were, for the majority, vote 3-1 in favor of option 2, putting in more landscape to provide both visual barriers as well as some dampening of sound, I would imagine, when at least the trees are green. And I would hope that they would take, when you're voting, into account of everyone in this community. This park will be used for years to come for kids that have not been born yet. There are many things to do in Wayzata as an adult. There is a playground at Wayzata Beach, and there is Klapprich Park. If you want to go to a playground with your child, if you want to be able to walk to it, I would hope that, I don't know how to make it better known with communication. I never come to these meetings. I've now been to 2 in a row in 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
And to know that because this is important, I think, and people do need to be present, making their voice known. I'm just worried that I'm going to miss another meeting now. If there's another one that I need to keep coming and showing my support. And so I don't quite understand the 3 options that you said, but you talked about taking out the sidewalk. Would that be the entire sidewalk? Like, what about kids walking to school?
The connection.
I don't know how to.
Let's address it later. We can address it.
Then separately, parking right now, the biggest issue with parking on that street right now is not the playground. It is not the middle school. It is people playing pickleball. If you go there when it's pickleball time, they are parked along both sides, and it actually is unsafe. So a separate discussion if you're worried about safety on that street. And with increasing children walking to this wonderful new playground, it would be analyzing that parking issue, because it is a little bit out of control if you go there at the right time. I think it's Monday mornings, to see what's going on. I believe this is a compromise. They have paused the building to discuss how to make this better for people that live above that street. I can appreciate, I have been in Wayzata for 8 years. I live on 2 dead-end streets. There have been at least, I think, 4 houses built. While I've been there, there is always construction. Right now, that's kind of how Wayzata is. There's always things changing. I appreciate that you woke up and all of a sudden the trees were gone. I do feel like option 2, putting in those trees, spending additional $20,000 to compromise, to try to make it the best for everybody, is doing due diligence. And if you're going to continue to vote on this and make additional plans, I think there needs to be another forum with more back and forth discussion versus just being able to comment, so that everyone can understand what they're voting on or what they're trying to speak for.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Sargent. Next up is Gareth Goodall, please.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all. My name is Gareth Goodall. I live at 627 Park Street East. So I'm a Park Street resident, and I'm the father of a 6-year-old boy and a 6-month-old girl. So as the father of 2, to me, it's kind of evident that a slide is more than just a piece of plastic and metal or whatever it is, bamboo, but actually it's a source of great joy and delight and fun for children. And, when I look on the Wayzata site, we repeatedly call this place a village. It says the word village many times on the Wayzata site. And of course, there's the famous proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. So I would ask, and I come here tonight like you, I don't didn't feel I would come to many of these meetings, but I would ask that we keep that in mind when we make a decision. I want a decision that's fair to my neighbours and fellow community members. I too have also lived through, I feel like, a lot of construction, so I understand.
Just a wee bit this summer, just a wee bit.
Just a small amount. So I understand, and but my ask would be that when you make a decision, you do it in a couple of ways. One is, I think we should separate this issue from the issue we just talked about. It would be easy to conflate two costs, add them together and be like, well, this now is a really expensive difference. To me, the first cost, I don't know the details, but it seems like ineptitude. This is a different matter, and I would ask that they get treated separately. I would also ask that you make a decision that sends a signal to the children of this village and the children who live here now and the children who may live here in the future that in this town they matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. Next up is Greg Landrum. Do I have that right? Okay, welcome.
Greg Landrum, 337 Park Street. And first of all, I wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak again. You all have had opportunities to listen to us already, so thank you for that. And first of all, I want to say I don't think that there's anybody on Park Street that is against the playground being renovated in Klapprich. The issues on the table that Tori and Fred talked about were the three that you raised, which are primarily the ones that are the contentious issues. That's what we've been talking about. The trees or the lack of trees, the stairs, and the slide. We would be, my wife and I would be in full agreement with what has been proposed at the very beginning here that Fred and Tori, you raised, is that we take some time to step back. I think they've come up with, from what we've seen, a reasonable solution that would be a compromise that would meet the requests that we have that are living on Park Street, as well as still allow to have what has been designed as a very good playground. So we would be very much in support of that. Hopefully, we've taken this much time. We can take 2 more weeks. That won't be that much more, so that we can develop a plan that will meet all of our needs. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, sir. Mr. City Manager, do we have anybody on Teams?
We do not.
Okay. Can you put the slide back up where it showed the number of feedback, you know, the slide, Nick, that you had, you know, for, against, or whatever? So while he's doing that, I'll start something here. First of all, you guys did great. I mean, wow, civil discussion. It was amazing. So I'm going to double down. Before we begin our deliberations, and also maybe for those of you who might be tuning in about Airbnbs and VRBOs and short-term rentals, I just have a statement I'd like to read. So when we, your city council members, and I, your mayor, sit up here and consider the decisions before us, we are weighing a vast and often complex array of information. A critical part of that is the public feedback we receive. We listen intently to the voices of our community, whether they come to us as prepared statements during a public hearing, as letters, as texts, as phone calls, as candid conversations in the hallway of this building, one-on-one, in community meetings, and in focus groups. The qualitative feedback, and I stress the word qualitative, because we get into this us versus them and counting, which to me is irrelevant, and I'll tell you why. This is qualitative, which includes surveys, polls, and it's absolutely essential for us to get the narrative, the context, the personal experiences, the information our packet alone can never convey. It tells us not just what people think, but why they think it and what a particular decision means for them. The reality is, unless we were to hold a referendum on every single decision, a process that is neither practical nor frankly the model for governance that we have, the responsibility falls on us, your elected representatives. Our job is to use the imperfect process of representative government to balance the qualitative information we hear from you, the expert analysis we receive from our dedicated city staff and advisors, and we must take all this and make a decision that we believe is in the best interest of the entire city. a solemn responsibility for all of us, and it's not easy. And we're committed to listening, learning, and leading with integrity. We may not always get it perfect, but please know that your input is valued and a fundamental part of every decision we make. And thank you for being active, and I hope you do come back to 1 or 2 more meetings when you find something of interest. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the council for deliberations. I think we need to go through both change orders and kind of get a sense of how people feel about each of them. And then we've got some new information that was introduced about a potential consideration of tabling this. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but let's bring out some people's comments. And if you would would you prefer that we take them one-on-one, or are you guys comfortable providing feedback on both change orders at the same time?
Well, but just comment that, Mayor. To me, they're two separate things. I mean,
So let's just go through
they're
them
taking the
separately.
same project, but they're,
Okay, so let's go through them one by one.
I mean, that'd be my suggestion, but
No
if
problem.
people want to do it different, I'm okay.
I'm fine with that. Let's do that. Let's start with fire suppression change order. Invite council to start that deliberation, please. Who would like to start?
I don't think I will.
Go ahead. Thank you,
I don't
Mr.
think we have an option to not approve it. It's super unfortunate, but I'm worried that with these additional costs related to the retaining wall and the trees, that our contingency is completely wiped out. So my recommendation as we go forward would be to consider removing the retaining wall and the spaded trees to help cover some of that cost, and then we still have contingency left.
Okay. And does that include leaving the slide and stairs in place?
Okay, so we're going to do them both at the same time?
Well, you're commingling them, so.
I am.
And I'm just trying to draw it out because it'll help us all with deliberations as we go.
Yeah, I believe that we have a decision to make. I've discussed the thought of, or the prospect of delaying the project. I think it's cumbersome. We've had lots of information here, so I do believe that we could come to a compromise this evening. Personally, I'm okay removing the steps to park. I think removing the roof on the slide is a good thing. It's nothing appealing about that roof, and it's also probably causes it to be more visible from the homes on Park. I also am for removing the retaining wall and removing the spaded trees and adding some more fast-growing trees like evergreens.
Thank you for being.
To maybe compromise that. So that saves, in my calculations, 28 grand, which would allow us to have some sort of contingency remaining for the project.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Parker. We'll come back to you too if you want to make further comments about item 2 of the 2 change orders.
I think I covered it.
Okay, but you'll get another shot if you want one. Who would like to go next on fire suppression?
I can
Molly?
go
Okay,
next.
thank you, Ms.
Sure.
McDonald.
Real similar to Councilmember Parkhill. I don't see that it's really an option. We have to be able to put out a fire if there's a bunch of children or any humans in a warming house. So I do support the ideas that Councilmember Parkhill raised with staff that says, let's sharpen our teeth with these vendors or this consultant. So I will be optimistic that there will be a reduction, but I do support the fire repression system, suppression.
Thank you. Mr. Sorensen?
I don't think we have an option other than to approve the change order for fire suppression. We talked about it enough, I think. We're just going to overpay for it because of an overlook, but
Well, maybe
I'd vote to approve the change order.
Maybe we'll get it on, you never know. Maybe, probably not, but we're going to try. Okay, I don't have anything further to add about fire suppression. We'll come back and take motion in 2 parts, motion 1, motion 2, but let's move on to deliberations about change order 2, which is about, I think, what staff's proposed. Some new information has been presented, so I would ask each of you to weigh in on how you feel about the change order. Do you still support it? Does any new information you got tonight adjust that perspective, persuade you to table it, or take it a different direction? Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Councilmember McDonald, thank you.
Lot of time thinking about this one. What I first and foremost just really want to appreciate the hard work from the Parks and Trails Board, the immediate neighbors, the broader community, city staff, this body up here, and whoever I might be missing. A lot of work went into this, and a lot of and all of this engagement and these updates and hopefully a swift response coming from this collective group can yield some really great compromises and what I hope results. I'm a little hesitant at the tabling idea. It actually would be 3 weeks until our next meeting, not just 2 weeks because of the Labor Day holiday. So that said, in terms of new information received last night, the landscaping, the spaded trees, yes, 100%. I live right there, as a lot of you know, and it's a jarring change, and I'm excited and optimistic about healthy big trees that will bring some of that screening back. And then, of course, I do hope some of that noise buffer, because what I think is sometimes is not lost, but overlooked maybe in this broader Klapprich's playground discussion is the ice rink all winter long, which I've lived in my house 10 years, and every winter there's 100 children across the street, some adults too, of course. And I personally think that that's a great thing. So I think the park proves that in the wintertime it can handle that and still keep the Park Street area safe. And so these trees will make a big difference. Probably, you know, where I live, it's more deciduous, so you really have a view of the skating rink and the lights. And if you don't have it before, they are promptly turned off right at 10. So there's never been an issue there. But back to the sort of extra options that came last night in collaboration with Parks and Trails and the immediate neighbors. So I said yes to the landscaping already. Scrapping that top hut, done. I think seems unnecessary anyways. And as I envision it, there's this landing pad at the top of the slide where a few kids can gather, and I just picture anticipation and excitement, waiting their turn to go down. And as I understand it from these photos and speaking with staff, though that sort of landing pad where you'd get into the slide without the hut makes it not visible from the street. And I think that's really important to note, that it doesn't start at the sidewalk. And I tried to ask that question in the workshop so that it was clear to the public, but I think maybe it got a little bit lost. The one I'm really struggling with is the connection, the stair connection, that top portion of the steps. I've been reiterating quite a bit that that connection should be quaint, almost like it's just peeking out of this beautiful new landscaping. And the reason why I'm struggling with the idea of it not being there is this is a big project. We have spent, I was in this position in 2018 talking about a broader park plan. So this is something that we've been talking about for so long that I just can't wrap my head around spending $2 million and my neighbors still can't get to the park without walking down a really dangerous, severe grade gravel hill that actually can be really quite slippery, even when it's dry. That sounds crazy, but it's true. Or that they walk all the way down Wayzata Boulevard. And if you walk that strip of Wayzata Boulevard, there's no buffer between Wayzata Boulevard and the sidewalk, and then the other side is a big drop-off hill. So I want to say that that's not important for the compromise, but I just, after all of this time and all this money, there's the strollers and the bags and the kids, and they still can't get down there unless you drive and park. It just doesn't square to me. So, yes, landscaping, no to the hut. Sure that there's no visual at the top of the slide from the Park Street neighbors, and just make that connection, or consider, and I ask you guys to consider that connection and its importance, and how we can make it subtle and not this like glaring thing, just sort of like a peek, if you know kind of thing. So that would be a suggestion. I would love to hear feedback from this body. So
Can I ask just one clarifying question to make sure I have your position? So I think you're clear about option 2 with a tweak, and you'd prefer for us to try to drive consensus tonight as opposed to tabling and working on it further.
I would, if it's possible.
Great.
I think the one public comment from my neighbor on Chicago Avenue it's asking a lot. It's asking a lot of the immediate neighbors. It's asking a lot of the broader community. I mean, selfishly, I think it's asking a lot of us and staff. We're in budget time too. So I think we would all just feel better if this project could just move forward. The quicker we can get this done, the quicker those trees go in and start growing and flourishing. So I don't want to have to table it, but if we do, then that's the right thing too, and that's important too. So not totally against it, but was counting on a resolution this evening, so.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Mr. Sorensen?
Well, on the tabling issue, I'm not sure, I think it's important we decide tonight one way or another. We've got contractors working out there. Mike and I talked a little bit about it today. He can comment more on it, but I think we should be concerned about not making a decision tonight and think we're going to make one in 2 weeks. And so that'd be my suggestion, is let's kind of figure out what we want to do tonight and make a decision. I also, someone made the comment, we've been designing this since 2021, so we've been at it a long time, right? And I think Parks done a really nice job trying to get this to this point. It's been a lot of work. Because of all that, I'm not inclined to think we should adjust the scope of this to do anything to reduce the scope of the project. I've tried to be open to listen to all sides of this issue. I had direct conversations with a few of the neighbors, and my gosh, we got plenty of letters. There seems to be a lot of consternation, speculation, concern about what's going to happen on Park Street if we run the stairs up all the way. And I've heard people describe what they're concerned about. I guess I'm just not overly convinced that it's going to be as bad as people think, with nuisance and safety issues that are being pointed out, and a bunch of kids and pedestrian traffic and maybe cars. Cars might be an issue that we can that we might need to deal with if we run the stairs all the way up. But I'm trying to really understand what's this going to be like if we run the stairs all the way up, if we do option 2 here. I just don't think it's going to be as bad as people think it's going to be. So to me, the ideal situation is that we connect the park to Lake Street, and see how it goes.
Park Street.
To Park Street.
That'd be a long walk.
way. I don't think I don't think the concerns that are being expressed very passionately are gonna materialize in that way. And let's go there and do that, and we can always adjust and monitor.
Okay.
So I guess I'm in favor of deciding tonight, not delay option 2.
Okay, and would you support removing the top of the slide to, I think that's an easy tweak that Molly suggested that Jeff was okay with. It's the top of the box.
The top of the box.
There's a little, like,
Just,
yeah, that little thing on the top.
sure, we can
You
take
okay with that?
off.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
One last chance for a bite at the apple before I get to go.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have 2 questions of staff before I make my comments. One relates to ADA. So I'm not an expert in ADA, but I know an analysis was done to make sure that the changes that we were making were ADA compliant. And then there's a standard that you have to meet for all of the playground equipment, but not every piece of playground equipment has to be accessible to people with disabilities. Did I get that right, or can you help amplify or clarify the rules around ADA?
Mr. Mayor, yes. To answer the ADA question, obviously the hillside slide is not ADA compliant. And in providing the hillside slide, we needed to provide an equal experience that was ADA compliant. And that has been included as part of the overall construction and alternate that was the hillside slide. So just above the retaining wall, I'm going to ask Nick if he can maybe swirl the mouse a little bit just to show there is a slide shorter and ADA accessible on the northwestern portion of the park that was provided in addition at the same time as the hillside slide, so that the experience was equal for all abilities.
Thank you. And then my next question is to our council, city attorney. This is with regard to liability. So in general, how do we cover liability of people using our park system? They injure themselves, they fall. And then is there any part of our insurance, which I believe is with the league, that they look at certain elements one way or another that, oh, well, if you add this amenity, your liability goes up and we're going to rate your insurance higher because you've added a 40-foot slide, as an example?
I think he directed it at you.
Well, either of you can take it, but I gave it to you because I know you understand risk.
Well, sure, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the key thing with risk is that we design it well. I mean, we want to create safe spaces for our children and families and folks using the park. So that goes into the design process every step of the way. When unfortunate accidents happen, that's why we have insurance. That's why we post signs about things. So the city follows all those things. I don't know if there's any specific review by the league of the designs or plans. Nick, do you know?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, just maybe a couple notes here. So talking with our playground vendor, the playground has to meet safety standards, which this playground does. They also noted, if we're just talking about the specific hillside slide, there's plenty of hillside slides around the nation that they noted, some even longer than this, quite longer than this. So when it comes to safety and liability, at least the playground is safety compliant. It is ADA compliant for the entire playground.
Okay, thank you. But my position really hasn't changed, and I've been out front listening and talking to folks all the way along. As you may note, I didn't vote for the park plan in the first place, but that was due to budget, a completely different situation. My original vote was about money. I am probably as pro parks as you can look to in my 17-year voting record. And then when you move to this, I just look at this and say, we're spending $2 million, you're taking out a small stairs and a slide, you have 2 additional slides, park equipment, flattening the park, adding fire pits, adding an expanded warming house, adding an outdoor bathroom, adding sidewalks, adding parking, right? And if this is the tipping point, and I use this example in the workshop. It's not equivalent, but it's how I am reaching my decision. I worked for 8 or 9 years to move the Panaway project forward, and we got to a vote like tonight where we were gonna, the original scope, it was recommended by the consultants. We'd gone through 9 years of community engagement, more surveys, more input, more meetings, more than you can imagine. And ultimately, the tipping point for people near there was we were gonna touch the little park down there, the beach park. We were gonna change it. We were gonna add a diving pier, and that became nuclear. And we had MoveOn.org petitions, and we got locked up. And the council completely switched at the last minute to say, well, we're not gonna do that. And we're gonna end it at the transient docks and you know, for the you know, Allen Almas and all that. So that was disappointing to me. I mean, I'm sitting here, I've worked for 9 years, and it gets undone in one vote. What happened 6 years later? We remodeled the little beach park. So I'm just using it as an example for context. I haven't changed my position, but I also want to make sure that we don't get into some sort of not being able to move forward. So I want to ask my colleague, Mr. Parkhill, a question just to clarify so I understand your position before I render where I'm going to go with this. I heard from Councilmember Sorensen and Councilmember McDonald that they want to move forward tonight. They want to move forward with option 2. They would accept a tweak to the top of the slide as one additional mitigation step, but they want to move forward. What I heard from you was concern about that landscaping, but I know you want to mitigate it. So is there a ground between you and I that we can get to so that we can get to moving forward?
Well, I haven't been the one as close to this as Councilmember McDonald has. And I'm not the one that lives across the street from it either, on both contexts. I too struggled with trying to understand the safety issues. I walked that place twice on the phone with one of the neighbors, trying to really be discerning and trying to really feel the passion and understand the safety issues. And I struggle with that, I have to say. I hear loud and clear that it would be a disservice and a service, so to speak, for the steps up. But because I don't see the safety issues as much as some of the people that live there, I believe that there should be a second connection to the park. I would love to save $28,000 on the spaded trees and the retaining wall. I think but I think maybe that's the compromise I make, is to go ahead, since we're spending $2 million already, to agree to spend that so that the neighbors do have some immediate protection from the visibility and the ghastly void that appeared in their front yard. I mean, that was just, I can imagine the shock. It was, I looked up there and I'm like, you can see for miles now from these people have beautiful trees. So hopefully we can replace those trees and get some nice, good trees in there for them so that they have the visibility. So I am in agreement with Councilmember McDonald and Sorensen on their proposal.
And would you also accept the tweak to the top of the slide? Yes. Okay. So I think we've got consensus on both issues. So let's take a vote on separate issues just so it's very clear for the record that we've approved both change orders. So the first motion I would accept is an approval of change order number 1 related to fire suppression with the condition of directing staff to work with the related parties that made the mistake to explore errors and omissions and recovering some of those costs. I would accept that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that change order is approved. Now for the second change order, I'll try to frame it, and if I get it wrong, please help me. So what I heard consensus for is moving forward with option 2, which is the additional landscaping, with a tweak to remove the, I don't know what the right language is, the top of the box of the slide. The roof. For visual, the roof, it's not, yeah, cover to mitigate the visuals. And I think that's it.
And just thought one more thing. I think it would be prudent and pertinent that when I assume our city forester, Bennett Myron, is going to be kind of plotting this out to give the Park Street neighbors a heads up so that they can just be more involved with where the trees will actually go. I think when you live across the street and you knew what it was before, you're gonna have better information than maybe a staff member. So if that's, I'm sure, something really easy to do.
Sure. I think I appreciate the additional comment. So I would accept a motion consistent with what I suggested. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I have one. I'm going to continue to vote no, only for consistency. I want my record to reflect consistency. I'm not for or against either side of it. And I hope tonight and throughout the process we demonstrated we do listen, we do make changes, and we try to balance it. So with that, I'll hear a vote. So moved, seconded, further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
One no, passes 3-1. So the direction, we've been at this since 4:30. I'm going to request a 2-minute, one-function break to clear the room and move on because I need to clear my head to get after the next thing. So just adjourn for 2 minutes, one-function break, please. calling the meeting back to order after our brief break. Next on our agenda is consider adoption resolution 2020-2025, creating a public art committee. Over to City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Nick Keiser is going to lead this discussion.
Thank you, Manager Kelly, Mr. Mayor and Council. So we're switching gears here a little bit. So like the mayor noted, this is the presentation will go over resolution 2020-2025, proposing to create a public art committee. So again, I'll start with a little bit of background here. The establishment of a public art committee is listed in the 2024-2026 strategic plan as a specific strategic initiative. Currently, how the city operates is actually under a public art policy that was created in 2015. What that policy really does is creates an ad hoc committee for each public art proposal that is proposed around town. One of the more recent ones you could say is the big water art piece in the roundabout east on Lake Street there. In September of 2024, the City Council established a public art steering committee. Really, they tasked that steering committee with determining if a longstanding public art committee should be within the city, and if so, how that structure or how that would be formed. So in fall of 24, staff solicited applications alongside all the other board and committee openings for that steering committee. So the Public Art Steering Committee was created. The members on that steering committee were Councilmember Alex Plekish, who is chair. I wish he was here tonight for this conversation. Councilmember Molly McDonald, and then 3 residents, Joni Cunningham, Roger Miller, and Judd Nelson. As a note, city staff members also attended those meetings as well. The steering committee met 5 times in 2025 to discuss the future of a public art committee and drafted the bylaws that were attached to the city council packet. At their July 14th meeting, the steering committee unanimously approved the draft public art committee bylaws. So this is important, I think. The mission, so within the bylaws, we'll go over the bylaws now. So in the bylaws, there's a mission statement, there's mission items, and then there's responsibilities. I think those are each important sections. I don't want you to be bored with me going verbatim for all of those. So we picked out a few of the highlights for each of those here, but all of them, again, are in those bylaws. So to start, the mission of the Public Art Committee is to advise the City of Wayzata on advancing a cohesive, elegant, and community-rooted public art program that enhances the city's identity, quality of life, and cultural vibrancy. The committee shall support art that is timeless and reflective of Wayzata's unique character, emphasizing walkability, discoverability, and the integration of public art with the city's history, natural features, and community values. So that's the mission. And again, with any board or committee, with any kind of decision, we always go back to these mission statements or the mission roles whenever a decision or recommendation is made. So with that mission itself, the committee shall carry out its mission in a manner that enhances the city's identity, civic pride, and quality of life through elegant, accessible, and enduring artistic expressions, supports Wayzata's values of community walkability, family friendliness, restaurant and retail distinction, and historic integrity, and the last being creates a sense of place and serves as a cultural center that encourages residents and visitors to explore and appreciate Wayzata's public spaces. So that's just 3 of those. There are 6 total within the bylaws. And as we move on here to the next section, the Public Art Committee responsibilities. So again, there are 9 of these. We just pulled out 4 here to highlight for council tonight. First being develop and recommend a long-term strategic plan for public art in Wayzata. Advise on the selection, commissioning, placement, and maintenance of public art in city-owned spaces and properties. Review and make recommendations on public art and private development applications involving art in the public realm to ensure public art supports the city's values and complements its parks, restaurants, shops, and historic environment. And the last being identify and help secure funding for public art initiatives, including public-private partnerships, grants, and sponsorships. So I think those are important sections. Again, important sections as part of the bylaws. So I wanted to go into those a little bit more detail. The rest of the bylaws, a little bit more standard here. So to start, the Public Art Committee would meet regularly. We didn't necessarily put a meeting date in there, really just to be a little bit more flexible based on the applicants that we get for that committee. Same kind of thing with the number of members. So we put 5 to 7 members for the Public Art Committee. Really, again, having a little bit of flexibility just based on the number of applicants that we would get. Up to 2 of those members could be a non-resident of Wayzata. We put a list within the bylaws that members could be as a part of. It's not limited to these groups or these members, but just kind of a starting point. So it could be council members, it could be Wayzata residents and business owners, it could be representatives of Wayzata art organizations or located in or vested in Wayzata. Same with artists located in or vested in Wayzata, Wayzata civic organizations, and also student members as well that are in Wayzata schools or in the Wayzata school districts, grades 9 to 12. Term length would be 3 years. We actually staggered the initial terms, kind of half and half, with 2 years and 3 years, just so at the end of 3 years, there's not everybody coming up for reappointment. And then the additional bylaws are essentially very similar, if not the exact same, to other boards and committees, with that being chair and vice chair roles, standards of conduct, those types of things. So next steps, if the resolution is approved, the Public Art Committee openings would be advertised along with the additional openings, additional board and committee openings this fall. Once those openings are filled, again, those exact meeting dates would be determined and added to the city calendar. The meetings would start in 2026, and at that time, the Public Art Committee would start discussing and ultimately potentially recommend specific art installations or initiatives to council. And as kind of the final note there, the council did create a new public art CIP fund, and within that fund, there's already an allocation of $100,000.
From the past, not this year?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So again, with that, I'll bring it back to Mr. Mayor and Council for any questions.
Questions of staff? Okay, hearing none, bring it back to council for discussion. Seems pretty straightforward to me. I mean, if people want to comment, Molly, you led the committee, maybe you could just offer a couple of comments and then we could see if there's support to move it forward.
I would be delighted. I feel like I'm going to try to fill Councilmember Plekish's shoes with my comments, as he actually was the chair of this committee and feels very passionate about it. And that passion, I think, really just emulated and translated so well with the entire steering committee. So we had an artist who lives locally who does sculpture for other cities all over the country, which was a great resource for us. We also had another committee member who was on that big water committee. I'm not exactly sure what.
Yeah, it's like a work group, yeah.
A working group, and she was invaluable. And lastly, a newer, new in Wayzata terms, resident maybe, but a great appreciator of art and had experience in public service. So, and a lot of enthusiasm from staff. Nick was great. Liv joined in. Director Sharp was there often. So fun to see a lot of enthusiasm in City Hall, and then of course with the residents, and then on the council level. So I'm enthusiastically endorsing this. I can't wait to vote yes on it, and I dare to speak for Councilmember Plekish, but this is something he's been looking forward to and excited about for quite some time. And it's really important to him, and I would say something that the work he's and I are quite proud of. So looking forward to approving this.
Well, thank you for that context, and thank you to the committee, and thank you to you and Councilmember Plekish for your leadership in moving this forward. I guess if people can weigh in if they want to, or I would accept a motion to move it forward. So it's up to if you want to comment, no. So I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 2025, creating a public art committee.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That passes 4-0. Next on our agenda is consider approval of an updated Panaway naming and dedication plan. I believe we start with staff, or is it going right over to you, Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, I'll give a quick intro, Mr. Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, we have a request from the Conservancy to provide an update to their naming opportunity list. For a little context, the city adopted a policy on naming and dedicating city-owned lands and facilities back in 2021. Later in additionally in 2021, design standards were drafted for Panaway naming and dedication, which was updated in 2023. Before you tonight, Peter Hitch is here from the Conservancy to talk to you a little bit about the request to include some additional opportunities to that naming and dedication opportunity list, both for continued support of Phase 1 and Phase 2 and future support of our Phase 3 projects. So with that, I would ask Mr. Hitch to come to the podium. Most of what he's probably going to add to is in our packet. We've provided a copy of that list with some highlights of the proposed new items, which are really intended to provide lower cost opportunities for dedication. We've provided some maps, and I know Mr. Hitch has provided you with an example of what the
right up there.
railing etching could and might be. So with
Yeah,
that,
so-
if you have anything else to add, Mr. Hitch, we'd be happy to have you come up.
Before you do that, I'm just going to add a couple comments. You can go to the dais, and I'm going to tee this up a little bit. Having spent a number of years on the other side and actually having Mr. Hitch's role, I wanted just to add a couple other comments for the public in context. Both Molly and I, who serve on the steering committee or whatever it's called for the partnership, reviewed this and provided feedback, and the Conservancy was very open to that. I believe, Mr. Sorensen, in your role reviewing monthly their board meetings, you had some visibility into this. So we already had input. And second and lastly, this inventory list is to give flexibility and options to help raise money. It is not the intent that this is to be sold out, because often we've heard, or sometimes we've heard, well, if you had all these dedications, it would look like a graveyard or signage everywhere. That is not the Conservancy's intent. They just need some flexibility to try to give them options to raise money, and that's what this is about. And lastly, we always have the right to turn away a request. Our naming and dedication policy allows staff to approve it at lower than $50,000 if the Conservancy follows the guidelines. If it's more than $50,000, it goes to the council, but the staff or City Council at any time, for any reason, can turn back a request if necessary. So with all that, Mr. Hitch, take us through what you'd like to add, and let's go raise some money for Panaway, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Council members, thank you very much. I'd like to just step back one stage, and that is that this decision you just made with respect to the Public Arts Committee is really helpful for us also, in that we've had exactly 3 requests for public art on Panaway over the last 3 years that I've been involved. And we've had to say, well, we're trying to get that worked out, and we'll get that worked out with a committee, but it's not something for us to decide at this time. And these items were not on our naming and dedication list, so they'll be coming your way soon, I'm sure. Also like to say, what a nice day today was. Does anybody else get out there? I mean, gosh, unbelievable.
I was in the salt mine, sorry.
It reminds me of something I used to say at my BNI meetings at the Wayzata Yacht Club years ago when I was the owner of Data Doctors, and that is simply, how lucky are we to work and live in Wayzata? It's amazing. So Mike gave us a good start as to where we've been with this thing, and I can tell you that was right on, that back in 2023, the next set, the second set of design standards was approved by this then council. And these standards and naming lists were the basis of our fundraising up till today. And that included the lake walk and the municipal docks. Remember, though, that in 2023, it was expressly anticipated that as we moved along with the project and finished the lake walk and the municipal docks, we'd have to take another look at what was going to happen with the future of our project as the new features were added that we're trying to get finished now for the Eco Park, the Section Foreman House, and the Depot Park. As fundraising has continued, ideas for additional items have been discussed at regular meetings of the partnership and the partnership committee, and also of our check-in meetings, which we've had with staff regularly over the last 3 years. We tried to help people understand that we had reasons for adding to the list that we then had. And it should be obvious looking at this that we had, number one, a gap, meaning we had a number of items $5,000 or less and some $25,000 and above, which meant that when donors came to us, there was a wide gap between $5,000 and $25,000, and they often were looking at a $10,000 level or something like that, and it wasn't available, so they simply defaulted to the $5,000 level, not wanting to step up to the $25,000 level. And also, if you look at the list, there were, and by the way, these are noted in blue, the new items for new construction that we might have down the way, but there was nothing associated with these additional project features. And so we wanted to have something that they could go there. And the last reason was wayfinding. We thought, and it would be nice to have wayfinding for where's the Broadway dock, where's the Depot dock, is there a trail down to the Sandville Learning Center or Section Foreman House, that sort of thing. And so wayfinding was something we wanted to have available for someone to use as their gifts. So the Conservancy is asking the council to consider this list of items, which, by the way, because of the railing items, is significantly less than was there in 2023. We've reduced the number of railing items needed because we think we'll probably be working in the neighborhood of 60 items over the next couple of years. We'd also like to point out that installed items, meaning those plaques or whatever are chosen by people, are very useful in that somebody sees them, they go, gee, that's nice. And sure enough, they come and ask us for something just like it. And the step downs, which is listed there, and I'd like to add 2 step down items because we have 2 requests for step down items like we already have, and they are separated on either side of the step downs. The same thing happened with respect to the stone benches. Those have been very popular. We're almost out of the opportunity to do that. But also we've had a couple of requests for other locations, and one of those is at the middle of the stone bench at the children's home. So, hoping that this gets approved, this list will be given to Civitas because they'll need to be able to figure out where these are going to go as we design the Eco Park and the Depot Park. And from there, it'll go to HGA, which has helped us design the standards for these. And we want all of our signage, all of our memorials and dedications to be consistent. We want them to look nice. We want them to be what HGA thinks is right. And so that would be the next step along the way.
I think you covered it pretty good.
I'm almost there.
Yep.
The Conservancy has produced new collateral materials.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've passed out to you.
Yes, they're beautiful.
And those are there and are raring to go to get out to the public so that we can move along. And it includes everything in there, and I think it's been most recently drafted. And lastly, we went out and did the work to figure out what the railing etching would look like. And that is there for you to look at. The idea would be that that would be those etchings would be stretched along the railing as we gain them, and they would be since each board is 15 feet long, these would be approximately 30 feet apart as you go along the railing. We have two that are people who have said they'd like to do that and have donated money to get that. But I believe that getting that out on the railing will be an amazing draw for people. The dollar amount for that etching is pegged at $1,000, and people would, I think, step up for that amount of money to have a name put on the railing. So with that, I simply ask if there's any questions.
Before we get to that, I just want to make one other clarification based on my own personal experience. Any of those future items, you typically would tell a donor subject to council approval of that part of the project, right? So when you're selling futures, we trust that Peter and his team will say, hey, there's some other steps to get the final form and function of phase 2.
We have
so we don't set.
We have a 25-step process of getting these donations taken.
Yeah, just wanted to add that. So cool. Any questions of staff or Mr. Hitch? Thank you for that great presentation. Any questions? Don't see any questions.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, Ms. McDonald.
I have a question, Mr. Hitch, in terms of just the overall fundraising from the Conservancy. As I look at this table, I don't see a lack of inventory. I think that's probably a poor choice of words, so I apologize, but that's the one that's coming to my head. There seems to be a lot of supply, and so to me, supply doesn't look like an issue. Maybe pricing is an issue. So I'm curious if you looked at just reevaluating how you're pricing these things in terms of using existing approved locations and tweaking the price. Off the top of my head, just listening to you speak, I agree. I think these turned out beautiful and they're going to be in demand. Maybe that price goes up. Maybe a few prices go down so that you can hit that between 5 and 25 or 5 and 20, whatever what we were lacking or what you were lacking in. I also was thinking back at the big gala party you guys threw at 6 Smith, and it seemed successful. It was busy. People had a great time. I was there. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. For some reason, I just assumed that would be something that would continue to move forward. Maybe not at 6 Smith, or something. So, to me, the supply already exists, but broadening the aperture of ways to fundraise seems to be lacking from my chair. So I'm wondering if you could comment on any sort of diversification on how you guys fundraise.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have been discussing this new list for 3 years now.
I mean, aside from this supply, a different avenue.
We have getting this list approved will help us now jump off with new fundraising using our new fundraising package. And we also have planned an event on Panaway. It's a dinner event using Panaway for next summer. We've talked about putting together a family picnic on Panaway to do the same thing, so that we can have people involved with Panaway and understand what we're trying to accomplish. We have literally been waiting to get this process, to get this list approved, and we have a contract with Fuzzy Duck here in town to do an 18-month strategy for fundraising, including strategy and tactics, as well as a whole social media presentation over the next 18 months. So we're ready to go, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Right, so what I'm hearing is, I mean, when I was a liaison on the Conservancy, the big table dinner was brought up quite a bit. It seems like there's a lot of hurdles in that, otherwise I would have assumed it would have happened already. So what I'm hearing is, not really, you know, like, I have a store and I get solicited by charities all the time about silent auction donations. And that leads to me to believe that those sort of events work. And I'm having a hard time approving plaques in areas that aren't designed yet, let alone funded. So I think that would be, I would imagine that would be a deterrent to a potential donor, because maybe they make it subject to these approvals. But it doesn't feel very concrete. So there's a few that I can get behind: the Lakeshore Restoration, the Sandville Learning, the big ones, you know. But the ones that are in locations that aren't designed or funded is not something I feel super comfortable with.
So thank you for that feedback.
Are there any
I
other
think-
questions?
I think we'll just leave that at the feedback. I just want to offer one perspective based on my own personal experience, both on this project and just in a number of capital campaigns. It is a very customary practice to offer, sponsorship opportunities for futures that are not quote unquote fully funded or approved. And it's up to the 501c3 to set those expectations really, really clearly, so that it becomes a restricted gift in part, like, subject to a future approval. I would encourage us not to clip that off, because then you never get to fundraising, and you never, no fundraising, no project, and it's this vicious cycle.
Well, I'm suggesting that there's another way to fundraise in addition to.
No, I heard that too. I heard that too. So your other suggestion was, don't rely solely on this tactic. Maybe there's some other things. And I would take that back to your board, as solid counsel from Councilmember McDonald, that do this, but we'd like to see other tactics as part of your mix. And I think that's the spirit of what you're trying to convey. Did I get that right?
Correct, thank you.
Okay, cool. So any other questions of staff on this topic before we move on to approve this or not?
Not a question, but just a couple comments.
Sure.
First of all, I think, we do appreciate the work of the Conservancy. You guys try to do some heavy lifting here, and it's not always easy. I've been around this just a little bit. When I saw this list, I thought, man, we're going to have our own Disney World here with all these signs. But as I understood it, and as your introduction, I do think we need to monitor as we go.
Yeah.
And especially keep an eye on it so that we...
Don't be too successful, we'll govern you back, and we should.
Yeah,
And we should.
So that we'll govern you back, and especially the ones that aren't designed yet, all the phase 3 things.
Be
There's
very
a lot of dots on the map, so I would just, working together, need to just make sure we
Be our pleasure.
are comfortable with all that. But in the meantime, go sell like crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay, I would accept a motion. I think there's consensus to move forward. I would accept a motion to approve this adjustment to the naming and dedication inventory list. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion?
Just to reiterate what I said, in terms of that 2023 meeting where we were really trying to limit visual distractions and Disney World style plaques everywhere, I'm going to vote no because of all of these additions, but I think it could be honed in, and I think pricing could be tweaked, and I think there's opportunity here, but, so, don't take my no as a carte blanche, don't approve, but just this specifically, the way this is laid out, I can't support it.
Thanks for that clarification. So it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
You're going to register no, right? Okay, so 3-1, and it moves forward. Thank you, Mr. Hitch, and
Thank you very much.
good luck with everything, and let us know how we can help. This looks really good, by the way. I worked on a previous version of it, and it's a major upgrade, so nice job.
Looks really good. And I love this.
Yeah, the quality of that looks really nice. Okay, so next is city manager's report, but I've got a couple things before you go, Mike. Just gotta find my, yes, my notes. Okay, so as was noted earlier tonight in the consent agenda and acknowledged in our workshop, we're sad to have Mr. Parkhill departing us and moving out of state. We're going to honor his service on the September 23rd prior to the council meeting. So the public is welcome, and we'll notice that to the public and encourage folks. And I'm hoping that you'll give me Karen's number so that I can make sure that she roasts you as your lovely bride. I'm just kidding. But many of us will be glad to sing your praises that evening, and the public will be welcome. With that, earlier this evening, we decided to post the council position to the public. So the city clerk, in the very near future, will publicize on our website any eligible applicant that wants to put their name forward for council is welcome to do so. We will then call those applications in a workshop and interview, and then ultimately select somebody to replace Mr. Parkhill no later than the first meeting in October. It may even be done the night that you step down if we can get there. You, of course, would have to recuse yourself from that per our charter. But anyway, that's, so to the public, there's an open council position. All are welcome to apply. It will be posted. Please note that and apply if you're interested. Lastly, I wanted to report some news about Judd Frost Clothiers. There's a gentleman there named Warren Lester who is retiring after 64 years in the apparel industry. And with city staff's help, we sent him a good wishes proclamation late last week. So he's hanging up his tape measure on September 1st, 1 month shy of his 82nd birthday. So I'm just going to read just briefly a couple things that people said about him that were included in that proclamation. Warren's style is timeless. His attention to detail is second to none. He has the rare gift of being able to fit all sizes and shapes, including this one, to make them look their best, ensuring every customer leaves with a smile and says, "That was a great experience." As one admirer put it perfectly, if you want an impeccably made piece of artistry and a dose of wisdom that you will carry with you for the rest of your life, go see Warren at Judd Frost. And the city of Wayzata wishes to formally acknowledge and celebrate Warren's outstanding accomplishments, which bring immense pride and recognition to our community. We honor and thank Warren for his inspiring representation of well-dressed folks to represent our city on both the state, national, and world stages. And if you've ever been in Judd Frost, that's true. You could see people dressed in various haberdasheries all around the world. Where they got it here. And on behalf of the entire Wayzata community, I want to thank Warren for his decades of service to this community. He lives right on Lake Minnetonka, one town over. His commitment to quality, and we wish him a happy retirement. And with that, I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you covering both the open house for Mr. Parkhill and our pending solicitation for council appointment. Just a couple additional items. On this Thursday at 7:30 a.m., the Chamber and the city are hosting a business council meeting at Fina's. So
that's Josephina's. It's just the other side of it, right?
it is. It's
Okay.
It's internal to
Morning
Josephina's.
Okay, got it.
So if you're available, please attend. The mayor, myself, the chamber, Alex, Director Sharp will be there as well. Update again, it's been mentioned before, our next city council meeting is not the 2nd of September. It is the 9th of September. Just a reminder, we have about 3 weeks before that next meeting, and we anticipate considering our preliminary levy approval at that meeting. And then lastly, I'm looking forward to receiving our proposals for recruitment firms for the city manager position. They are due on Monday afternoon.
The search. Gotcha. Okay.
Any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Questions?
What was the time for the Thursday morning?
7:30 to 9 a.m.
Phenom.
You can bring your dog.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager. I would like to compliment our staff and my colleagues. We had 5 hours of deliberation tonight, and you guys did a great job, and we stayed even and got through all of it. So thank you for all of your hard work today. We tackled quite a few issues and some gnarly ones at that. So thank you for that. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn our meeting. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.